We are broadcasting here from unceded Algonquin territory in Ottawa, and I am just delighted to have with me today. I've known Karama for several years, but we've never actually met physically because you were introduced to me as an Arabic teacher by a very good friend of mine who has subsequently been murdered by the Israelis. But she did introduce me to you. And I thought I had lost contact with you. And all of a sudden, one day, I got a WhatsApp from you. I'm still alive. And so I was so happy, Karama, when I got that. So thank you so much. You're on mute, Karama. I'm going to start off just asking you a few questions just to set the stage a little bit. So first of all, how are you doing?
Hello, Peter. Thank you so much for introducing me and for inviting me for this webinar. Yeah, I'm happy to be with you and to talk about my experience. Anyway, now I am feeling much better. Alhamdulillah, I'm very good. Yeah, and thank you for this nice introduction as well.
Well, it's lovely to see you again, looking your smiling face, and I'm so happy that you were able to get to Cairo. But when you first contacted me, you hadn't yet got to Cairo. You were still in either Khan Yunis or Rafah. I can't remember. But just for the people who are listening here for the first time, I have been to Gaza, so I can imagine the situation a little bit. Although it's hard to imagine now what the situation is like. But just go bring us back to the film there at the very beginning. You were living in Gaza City, and the bomb started. What do you remember of that the very first couple of days? What shook you?
Yeah, actually, where I live, I can tell you, I live in because now Gaza map it is or Gaza Strip map it is totally different than before. But I can tell you currently, according to Gaza map, currently I live in North Gaza. And in particular, I live very close from Ashifa Hospital. Ashifa Hospital, it is close to
I
the
know it. I know it. Or
yeah.
knew it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So I live in very close at the same neighborhood of Shifa Hospital.
Mm.
And this is really very important to say this because my neighborhood, it is really, really was very dangerous because the operation and in the ground that happened, it was in my neighborhood because close at the same neighborhood of or the same street of Shifa Hospital.
So Karma,
Uh,
just let me just stop you there because I stayed in that area in a bed and breakfast called I think it's the Marna Hostel, and at that time, it was told me that that area of Gaza was actually quite safe. All the bombings in the previous rounds of Israeli attacks on Gaza, it had been at Shujaiya or been elsewhere, but that central area had been quite safe. So you must have been surprised to see. I mean, of course, anybody would be surprised, but this must have been quite surprising to see rockets coming down in that area of Gaza.
Yeah, that's true. And this is really, really very accurate to talk about this area in particular. You know, I live very close from the international organizations offices. My house is very close from the Red Cross office, from the UN compounds, UNRWA. It is just like, and also Doctors Without Borders. So these international organizations actually located in my neighborhood at the same time. So that's mean that this area, we don't say only safe, it's the capital of Gaza
Right.
because it is the most safe. We have never experienced like this, like ground operation from the tanks and the airstrike. I can say like, okay, no safe place in Gaza, and we experience little, but not like intensively, like what we experience currently. And when I saw actually my neighborhood before and after, I really shocked. And to be honest, literally, they are the first time I saw the picture of the street of my neighborhood. I am really like to tell you, I didn't recognize it. I
Mm.
didn't recognize like this is my neighbor and this is my friend house. Can you imagine? It is totally destroyed, and the street it became a new street for me.
So you were woken up in the morning, I understand, hearing rockets and bombing. And where did you go?
Yeah, hello. First of all, it was at 6:30 or 6:30. It's about a.m.
In the
If I
morning.
remember, yeah, in the morning. If I remember exactly the time, it was 6:15, 6:30. It's about this time where all of the people were sleeping and some students they are going to the schools. So at that time, I heard rockets and lots of dozens of rockets are launching from Gaza, but I recognized what type of these rockets, of course. But at the beginning, I was like sleeping, and all of us we woke up because it's not only one rocket. We heard like tens and rockets, and it stayed not only 1 minute, it is more. Then directly I pick up my phone because I know that my students, they're working with international organizations. Then I picked, and then I took one of my students, like maybe she has news, or then I text her. I said like, what is it? What's going on? But she says like, it is weird because my student and this international who is working in Gaza, she's living at the same of my neighborhood. As I said, the office is very close to me. So all of us, we heard that. And then I rushed to see the news. It was really very scary, very, very, very scary. It's not, if I want just like to make you feel like it looks like thunder, but or earthquakes, something like that, but it's not thunder, it's not earthquakes, but the house were shaking. Drones of rockets are launching together after each other, and the sounds is really, really very scary. And even when I looked to the sky, I saw even like signs of these rockets, after launching the rockets, they left some signs behind it. This is what I saw. And then I saw the news. There was nothing written in the news. The feeling was really like shocked. But after that, we realized like that Hamas launched these rockets against Israel. And to be honest, my feeling was at that time, it was really, I was expecting the worst, like the response. I was waiting, what is the response? And my feeling, it was the response will be something really bad.
So what was the response? I don't want to stop too long about this because I want to get to your situation in Cairo, but the response did come and you had to flee. And I remember you sending me a little video of your fleeing at night with your niece. I think that was, how did you know where to flee to?
Yeah, directly what happened after that, before it started on the 7th, let's say like 7th of October. And then we evacuated on the 13th of October. So you are talking about some days that we spent it in our house, it's still in Gaza.
Right.
We evacuated. At that time, there was no electricity at all from the 8th of October until 13th of October, there was no electricity at all, no water inside my house. So it was really no connections, no internet connections, literally in all neighborhood. And at that time, because of the lack of the communication and connections, I suddenly on the 13th of October at 2:30 a.m. I received a call from the Israeli army. They are asking me, this is like suddenly, they are asking me to evacuate to South Gaza. It was a recorded voice message asking Palestinian who live in, and they mentioned the name of my neighborhood. You have now immediately, for your safety and for your security, to leave the area and to go to South Gaza. And they didn't mention where we have to go exactly, but they say like you have to go South Gaza after the Gaza Valley. So they just like say this message. And this message it was repeated like
Sure.
many times.
So you got a taxi and you went, is that right?
No, I didn't take a taxi. My brother, he is working with international organizations. So directly, that's why I told you it is close to from my house, just like 2, 3 minutes from my house to the one of these international organizations. So we rushed to the international organization, the office, all of us. I picked only one handbag, my siblings and my niece, my nephew. So all of us, we went, and my uncles, because now I live in a building which full of people, all of them, my cousins and my uncles and my aunts. So all of us, we left. But at that time, not all of us, we went to the international organizations. My uncle and his family, they went to the Shifa Hospital, because many people, they think that the Shifa Hospital, it's the most safe place where can you protect, because they will never people expect that they will never attack or they will target it, because it was full of patients, full of injured, full of, so they thought that this is safe place for them. For
And
me,
just to remind people, I think most people did think that as well, but the Israelis ended up claiming that Hamas had done tunnels under the Shifa hospital, and they basically destroyed the whole hospital and killed a lot of the medical staff along with their patients as well. But that was after you had fled farther south.
yeah, I also heard that. I saw also this is written. But actually, many people, I can tell you, like lots, thousands of people, because actually 2 days ago, before I evacuate, I passed by the Shifa hospital. I went in order to charge my mobile. So I was searching for any place that has electricity.
Right.
So it was really, really crowded of people in the yard and in the garden of the hospital. They are just like protecting themselves because of the airstrike and
Right.
from the weapons. So once we went to the international organization, we found all the internationals who are actually preparing themselves in a convoy in order to leave to South Gaza. So we went with them to Khan Yunis.
All right. So you're in Han Yunis. You've somehow found a place to stay. Did you find a nice hotel?
No, in yes, in South Gaza there is no hotels. Because actually when you go to South Gaza you will find lots of farms. It's like villages, It's not like Gaza where I live. Okay, I live in my neighborhood. It is belongs to a Rimal area, which is the most fancy place in Gaza. And the Rimal area, it is the area that full of shops, malls, cafes, and lots of things. But once you go to the south of Gaza, you will find that less entertainment, so there is no hotels there. Once we arrived there, we went actually to one of the UN compounds, United Nations compounds. We went there. Once we arrived, directly they told us, like, this is not safe a place for us, and not safe a place even for the internationals who are working with international organizations. So they asked us to open for us like UN shelter. UN shelter, yani United Nations shelter, it is United Nations school, one of their schools. And they think like UN school, it is also protected. No, they will never target it. After discussions, actually, I wasn't feeling very comfortable and safe to leave the area and to go to the United Nations school, because actually also, since this started, this like only one day we read in the news that they targeted one of the United Nations school as well. Yeah, if you just like even like we evacuated on the 13th of October. On the 12th of October, it was announced in the news that they targeted one of the United Nations schools. So at that time, I said, no, I will not go. I will not leave, because if I wanted to go there, it doesn't mean that I will be safe. At least here, it is more safe than there.
Right. Okay. I think one thing you said there would be of interest to a lot of people here. We know that Gaza is one of the most populated areas on Earth, but what surprised me in Gaza is that there is actually quite a bit of open space as well. There's a lot of farmland going from Gaza City down to Khan Yunis or down to Rafah. There's fields and so on. That was a big surprise to me. That's what you're referring to as well. So then you eventually ended up in Rafah, is that right?
Yeah, then I evacuated from one house to another, because each area, as you know, I doesn't know the area in South Gaza. So when you go, you are really blind. You don't know actually if you are in this safe area or not. So once we found a house and we start to stable and we say this is good house, directly or after 2 or 3 nights, they target the neighborhood, they target our neighbors. So it was really scary. So we have to we pick our package again and we think like, no, this is not good area, we go to another area. That's why we jump from one area to another seeking for any protection.
And everybody's doing this at the same time, right?
Yes, this is exactly. You don't know actually, and sometimes it's not like all the time they warn us. Sometimes because if there is someone who is targeted, they are not gonna to warn you. They are not. If you are lucky, then you will be warned. But actually, if you are not lucky because your neighbor it is wanted or targeted, then they will target it, and then you will die
Right,
with him. This is
right.
the most
Okay.
dangerous part.
So then you eventually started to try to get out. And you made, as I remember from talking to you, you had to make several attempts to get out of Gaza into Egypt, right? Now, what's that process entail?
Yeah, Peter, it's not only several times. Honestly, since I arrived to Egypt, since I arrived to Rafah, and not okay, yani, even before going to Rafah, I was expecting the worst. I was asking my brother, like, we have to leave Gaza, because this time, according to my experience, every war, it's really worse than before, more dangerous than before. So according to my experience, I was expecting the worst, that it is coming. You understand? So what I was planning is to leave Gaza. And we start actually to put our name in the crossing, Rafah crossing, in order to leave. So once we did that and we submit the applications of me, my siblings, and my niece, because we have kids, we have children, and even they don't have passports, but we tried to put and to do something. And then they
Karama, who do you submit it to? Is it to the Israelis, to the PA, to the Egyptians? Who do you submit it to?
No, it is now we have Rafah crossing. Before, at that time, you registered in the website. Actually, this website, it is running by the government of Gaza. They actually you register your name, and then they put you in a list of the travelers after they make there are some procedures. So
Right.
we registered our names, and directly after one day they targeting the crossing, and then the crossing was closed. Khalas, it is destroyed and it was targeted. Since they targeted the crossing, it was really like impossible. That the journey started now, searching for ways in order to leave Gaza. It was really very, very, very
Is that 30? You tried 34 times to leave, is that right?
I don't know how many, but I can tell you, I tried every day. We tried every day, like since the 13th of October until the 3rd of March, when I was every day trying, you know. So
Hmm.
you can imagine, you can count how many times every day, the day and night, I was running after these people who actually have some controls, after these people who we call them like smugglers, after these people who are, they call themselves coordinators, in order to help.
Uh,
But
So,
actually,
so
yes,
to put your name in, do you have to give somebody some money just to put your name in?
yes, exactly. This is what happened. But I wanted to tell you something which is really, really very difficult, which I was really feeling frustrated when after they opened the crossing, after they close it, um, they target it, and then it was closed, and then they reopen it again. Uh, at that time, the first people who managed to leave Gaza, or they were allowed to leave Gaza, only the people who are the people who are working or who have citizenship, like US citizenship, only
Canada,
these
right?
people. And yes, the people who, yeah, who have, they call it like dual nationalities, or like foreigner passports. This
Right.
is what I yeah. And it was really very frustration for us because we don't carry any other nationality. We are totally Palestinians. We're from Gaza. I have only one Palestinian passport. So it was really very frustration for me, like, how can I bring this? So at that time, we heard about these embassies who take care of their like nations. They start to take the people who have dual nationalities. For each one, they take, and they contact their embassy, and they manage to live without any coordination, only from the embassy itself. After that, they open the doors for people who have the Egyptian nationalities or passports. And then after that, the people from us, like me, who doesn't have any other nationality or any other passports, but we have to pay coordination for that. The coordination, it started from $10,000 for one person. Sometimes it
So
was
just a
not.
minute now, you have to pay $10,000 to somebody. They call it a coordination. Is that a government agency or is that a private firm or do you know?
It is, I don't want it, it's not like it's a private. It's like someone who call himself like coordinator, and he says like, I have authorities and I can help you in order to leave, but you have to pay this price of money.
$10,000 per person.
10,000. Yeah, it was 10,000, $9,000, $9,000. I paid personally $6,500 for me, the same price for my sister. So I paid $15,000 for both of us in order to manage and to escape and to go. You know what? This was very, 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 very. It's done in a very confidentiality way. You can't, you don't have any receipt. You have to pay. You have no options. You have to pay in advance. You have to pay in dollars. You have to pay cash.
Okay, so
So
here's a practical question. You left your house in the middle of the night. You didn't come with a whole suitcase filled with $30,000. So how do you manage that?
yeah, for me, I was lucky because at that time I'm working as an Arabic teacher for non-Arabic speakers, and there is a platform. It's called the Learning Cooperative. So the Learning Cooperative, it is based in London. They know me since 2018, since I start to work with them, and I informed them about my situation because everyone, they were asking me like, why you don't leave Gaza? Why you are still in Gaza while, yeah, but they don't know, they have no idea, like it is, the crossing is closed. And people, they are just like informing me, Karama, the crossing is open. Now you can travel. No, guys, it's not like that. I have to pay money in order to leave. So these things, I try to explain to the people who are working with me at the same platform. So they made campaign, GoFundMe website link campaign in order to raise money for me. And alhamdulillah, they managed to send for me the money.
Nice.
And yeah, and I managed to pay this money for the coordinator, and
Okay.
then I left.
Wow. Okay. So now we come to your situation. You've now been in Egypt since more than a year, right?
Since March, and
March of
now,
this year.
yeah.
So eight months or something. Now, when you get into to Egypt at the beginning, you have an Egyptian visa, right, of some sort,
Yeah.
and that's like a temporary tourist visa.
Yes, actually, it is called tourism visa. Tourism visa, it is given for anyone who evacuated from Gaza. And
Uh-huh.
this is the only visa that we are allowed to take in order to be in Egypt. There is a tourism visa. It allows for you to be legally in Egypt only for 30 days.
For 30 days.
Yeah, this is because they signed in my passport only. It is يعني the validation,
Yeah.
or is
Valid. Yeah.
only for
Yeah.
approved only for 30 days. Uh, More, if you break your visa or it expired after 1 month, if you stay in the country after 1 month, you are illegally in the country. What you have to do after that, you have to pay for each month like money you have to pay because it's expired and you stayed illegally in the country. Because of the war, I heard many people, they told me no, they are not gonna to ask you to pay money because your visa is expired and you stayed illegally in the country. Being in I wanted to say, like, being here, they are not gonna to ask me to leave or to go back to Gaza because they know the situation is bad. But if I have this illegally visa, it means like I can't do anything in the country. I am in a big prison. I can't travel. I can't go to I don't have any insurance. I can't even, it's really also funny. Last week, I went to Alexandria to meet my aunt. I didn't see her for a long time, like more than 10 years. And she came finally from Norway to see the family in Alexandria. I went to Alexandria. I was really too tired because 3.5 hours from Cairo to Alexandria. And then I don't want to go back at the same day. So I wanted to book in a hotel, but in the hotel they refused to book for me any room because my visa is expired. So you see, like any small thing I wanted to do in the country, I am not allowed to do because of my visa. So I have had to go back the same to take the bus and go back to Cairo just only because I can't use my visa because it is expired. Of course, if I wanted to go to the hospital, I'm not allowed to go to the hospital. Last month, my mom, she was sick. I took her to the hospital. It was really long procedures and at the end, no, you are Palestinian, so you can't stay, it is illegally. I also tried to find a job here. One of the biggest companies here, I also applied. I went to the interview and they told me, but they thought that they told me like we have many expats, so the procedure will be the same. But because I am from Gaza, I wasn't allowed to work with them. Literally, when I was searching for jobs, I don't want to work with the government because I know that it's impossible to hire me. But at least maybe I was searching for private sectors. Even these private sectors, you know what? The HR, he literally told me, Karama, it's really risk to hire you. Can you imagine? It's really very difficult. Even as a volunteer, I am not allowed to work with any organization because my visa is expired. Peter, I totally understand that this is really something that is related to the government, the rules, law. I totally understand it. I don't complain about that, but it's just like I'm just like explaining what does it mean to be in a country where you don't have any work or you are not illegally in the country. No residency.
Right. Karama, you must be thinking about, do you have news from Gaza? Do you have your family still in Gaza?
Yeah, the only people who managed to leave Gaza from my family, it is me, my uncle and his family, and my brother, he's still in Gaza. My brother, he's still in Rafah. He didn't leave because first of all, because he also managed to help his wife to leave and the kids as well, because it was very dangerous, as you know. He says like at least I wanted to send my family to Cairo. He stayed in Rafah because he knows that if he comes here, he will not find a job. And he works with international organizations. So he says like, I will stay working in Gaza. However, many people who actually left Gaza, even like his colleagues, they managed to leave. But even if you are working with one of the international organizations in Gaza, which are actually lots of international organizations, now they are working in Gaza. But once you leave Gaza, once you wanted to survive, they make directly termination for your contract only because you left Gaza. You know what? I also applied with one of the international organizations in order to work with them. They contact me directly, like, you can. I was working. I applied like a reporter. It doesn't need me to be in the ground because I was searching for jobs and I need to work with them. But once they know that I am in Egypt, they refuse to hire me because they ask me to be in the field. But this is reporting. It doesn't need me to be in the field. I can do it online remotely. And I asked them. I told them, hey, If you want me to be in Gaza, once the crossing open, I will go back to Gaza to work in the field. But unfortunately, it also didn't work.
Wow. Karama, we're going to move to a different section here of the webinar. I'm going to ask people to ask you questions, either putting them in the chat or putting them in the Q&A. Before I do so, I want to introduce Rabbi David Mivaser, who's on the OFIP Advisory Board. And David has been quite active in Canada in trying to develop support for Palestinians stuck in Gaza. So, David, how do I get you? How do I get you on here? Just a minute. David, attendees. I'm not very and allowed to talk. David, can you speak?
Yes.
Great. And
Good.
I don't know if I can put your video on as well or not, David, but go ahead and speak. I'll fiddle with that.
Okay.
Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Karama, for sharing your experience. And I just hear the passion in your voice, and I feel like your heart is just overflowing like a dam breaking. You know, you have so much to tell people. So I'm grateful to Peter for giving you a way to share that. So just a bit, from me, for everyone else listening, I've been connected with quite a few families in Gaza for quite a long time. And we've had many experiences like what Karama just told you about, of helping people get out of Gaza when that was still possible. I was directly involved in helping maybe 8 or 10 families get out of Gaza. It was just like she said, it was so precarious, so completely unpredictable, moving from one place to another, depending really on like luck and fortune, just who they meet, what happens to them, needing to find so much money. There's one young woman who at the time was 26 years old with 2 children. I personally raised $30,000 to get her and her 2 children out. I can really say, like, by the grace of God, they got out like 2 weeks before that ended. Anyway, I'm in touch with about 8 or 10 families in Cairo who have all the problems that Karama said. They can't work, their children can't go to school. If they can't work, they don't have any income, like to pay for rent. They need some place to live. They need to buy food and everything. So I'm with a group of people, mostly in Canada, but also other countries, helping them and supporting them, and also very much being in relationship and personal, like daily contact. And I'd like to invite anyone else here to join us. Probably the easiest thing is for me to simply give you my contact information and invite you to be in contact with me. And I can help you connect with one of these families. I can, talk with you about like who would you like to be in touch with and how would you like to help? And we can work that out kind of personally. So Peter, if it's okay, I'll do that, or maybe somehow put it in the chat or something like that.
Well, I'll just suggest a couple of things, David. One, certainly put your email coordinates in the chat right now for everybody. But also, if you send me the information, I do a follow-up email that goes to all the people who are on the call today, but also ones who have registered for it and who couldn't attend. And I can include that information in it. So it will go to there. We're now 53 of us here, but actually there were 120 that registered. So it will go to a larger number of people. I'd be glad to share that with them.
Yep, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Thank you, David. Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
I'm going to get to Michael Johnson in a minute because he has his hand up. But Karama, do you know of other efforts? Are you all by yourself there, or are you aware of Palestinian groups that are talking to each other, or groups that are getting help from outside? What's the? I understand there are something like 100,000 Palestinians in Gaza in Cairo, but Cairo is a city of 15 million or something. You could be there and nobody would ever notice you. It would be possible.
To be honest, I'm not in touch because I told you like I worked as for a few days with a journalist who came to Cairo in order to make interview with these people who actually evacuate from Gaza, but she was targeting the injured people. I mean, like the people who managed to leave Gaza by the WHO World Health Organization. They help people, sick people and injured, in order to leave Gaza and to get the treatment and have surgeries in Cairo. So through this panel, I start to make to recognize and to meet these people only from this way. So I went to meet them because they as a translator. So I heard their stories, and it was really very bad stories. I said, like, I was really very lucky. Like, I am really not injured. So I stopped actually complaining after hearing or listening to these stories and doing the translation for these stories. I heard stories from people who actually they are people. I met people who evacuated during injured people evacuated from the war by WHO organization in order to make surgeries, and they are really suffering a lot because there is lack of no one is take care of them, no food, no good treatment. Some of them really need to continue their treatment. I also met people who actually before the war they are in Egypt and they suffer from chronic disease, and they came to make surgeries, but they are not injured, like they are not. It's not from the war. It's just like before. And I also met another type of patients. These people who suffer from cancer, and they
Cancer.
have yeah, from cancer. They left during the war because they need chemicals treatment, and they are not found in Gaza, but they really suffer still, like suffer. No one take care of them.
Right.
And they actually calls the embassy in order to do something for them.
Michael Johnson, you've had your hand up for a while. If you still, I'll unmute you if you still want to ask a question. I think I saw in the chat actually you had a couple of questions. So, Michael, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Can, yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for hosting this. And Karama, thank you so much. I'm so sorry for what you and all of your Palestinian friends and family are going through. And I hope very much that the rest of your family can make it out. I have three questions that I put into the question and answer slot first. I wasn't sure if you were monitoring that. Would you rather I ask these questions, or do you
Go ahead, Michael, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My first question would be, Karama, you mentioned that there were no auctions at the border. You pay money, there's no receipts. You said you had to pay in dollars. Are you saying that you paid in US dollars or dinar, or what did you pay? What form of payment will they accept?
I paid US dollars, and this is literally what he says. He says, I need cash, US dollar, and he says in $. It means like this is, these smugglers, they have I was working, sorry, like these people who are like coordinations, they have a specific, you imagine that these are, I'm so sorry for this, it is corruption. So this is literally what he says, like US dollar, clean, very clean. It's not like clean and cleaned, I don't know how to explain it in English.
Right,
yeah
right.
But he says like I paid in the US dollar.
Okay, so we sponsor a family that's living in Al Mawasi right now. We want to help them get out. I have a small group of friends. We've been friends with this family for about 20 years now. and they bank in Ramallah, so he's able to get money through his telephone. I don't know if they're able to get cash, but he can pay through his phone. Can they transfer money from telephone to telephone using their smartphones? Okay, thank you. My next question would be, you mentioned that when you first got to Egypt, that you were on a temporary visa, a tourism visa that was good for 30 days, and that you had to renew that every 30 days or you were considered illegal. No?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't renew it. So once my visa expired, this is not the first time for me to be in Egypt. I have been, this is like the sixth time to be in Egypt because I traveled here because in 2020, I came to Egypt because I applied for a scholarship in USA and because there is no embassy in Gaza. So I have to make an interview in the US embassy. So I couldn't go to make the interview in Jerusalem, which is really, I have to make it in Jerusalem because the crossing, it was closed. And I applied to take a permit in order to allow for me from the Israeli army, to allow for me to go to make the interview at the US embassy in Jerusalem, but they refused. So the other option for me is to do the interview in Egypt. So that's why I traveled to Egypt, and the first time that I traveled in order to make the interview for my visa at the US embassy here. So once I came here the first time, I know the rule. Like I am here only for 30 days. So I have to make coordination also. Like the interview, it's in this day. So I have to make my interview during this month. Otherwise, I will be illegally and I have had to leave the country. So I know this law and I know these procedures. I have to be here only for 30 days. I can't renew it. There is no law. Even if I want to just like to go to any place, like if I wanted to go to any office, any government office, and I ask them to renew it, there is no law to allow for me to renew it because they will say, are you Palestinian? Sorry, you are not allowed. So this is what happens, you know.
So is the average person that does not have international contacts arrives in Egypt, they're on a 30-day visa. After 30 days, they're illegal. There's no way for them to renew their visa. And are there checkpoints? You said you were able to travel to visit a relative. Do they have checkpoints? Do they look for these people that are illegal?
I am very careful where to go because actually there are many checkpoints. For instance, Sharm el-Sheikh, I really want to go to Sharm el-Sheikh, but I know that there is a checkpoints. When I ask, you know, when I wanted to book for Alexandria, I ask first if there is any checkpoints that they will ask for my passports or my
You go by bus or train?
By bus. He says, the officer, he says, no, you can go to Alexandria, it is fine. But he told me, if you wanted to go to Sharm el-Sheikh, for instance, they will be like checkpoints. And he told me, don't take it personally. He doesn't know that I am from Gaza, by the way. I asked because of my personal issues. But he told me, like, this is checkpoints not only for you. This is for even for Egyptians. They will check them. They says like this is checkpoints. It is really exist if you wanted to travel. But he advised me if you wanted to travel to Sharm el-Sheikh, you can travel by airport, like internal.
Thanks, Karama, and thank you, Michael, for the work you're doing, and for the thoughtful questions you asked. That's appreciated.
Yes, all right. May I ask one more quick question?
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Are you able to keep your telephone service when you cross over the border? Can you use your same number, your same telephone?
Sorry? I didn't
Are you using
understand.
the same cell phone number, your 972 number? You can use that in Egypt?
Oh, only for my WhatsApp, because this is my work WhatsApp, just in case if anyone needs class or wanted to be in touch with me. That's why I'm using it. But I can't use it here in Egypt. It's only
Okay,
in
so you don't
Palestine.
have cell service, you have WhatsApp. So when you're connected with the internet, you can use WhatsApp. Okay.
Yes, yeah, for my business.
Is there a contact number for the coordinators? Can you list some number or website for us to look at?
The coordinator himself, no. He doesn't even contact me, but actually normally there is someone who is in between. But yeah, I think I I contact someone, but it's not like the exact, there is always in the safe side. So they don't contact with the beneficiaries or the travelers directly. They put someone in the middle who's doing this connection between the traveler and this coordinator. They are really so smart to protect themselves.
Okay, thank you
Okay
so
there,
much.
Michael, is that okay now?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you,
Karama, you
Mike.
said something in passing that I think maybe people wouldn't necessarily have picked up on. I remember when you were still being my Arabic teacher and you were in Gaza long before the 7th of October, you were trying to get, you had been accepted by this American university, but you had to get a visa. You had to go to the American embassy to get that. And you said you tried to go, there's an American embassy in Jerusalem and there's an American embassy in Egypt. But it's an interesting example of how the Gaza border is 98% closed, but 2% open at any given time. So you were able to apply and get a visa to go to Egypt, and then from Egypt you could go to visit the U.S. embassy and so on. But most people couldn't do that, and that costs money. It costs money for the coordination to get there, the bus to get there, and so on. So Israel has created this bizarre system where for most people, Gaza was basically a concentration camp. But there are little ways here and there where you can get out if you pay some money and coordinate it. Because I think people don't really understand how you could be going to U.S. to go to school at the same time we're saying it's a outdoor concentration camp, and it actually both things can happen at the same time.
Yeah, what I wanted to tell you, like, it's really like big story about this coordination and sorry, about the crossing and how it works. In Gaza Strip, it has like for the travelers who wants to travel, I'm not talking about the products and I'm not talking about the food, okay? So we have two crossing. The first one in North Gaza, which is Erez crossing, and it is controlled by Israel. The other one, it is in South Gaza and it is controlled by Egypt. So before the war, the coordination it was exist, but it wasn't like this. For ladies, we don't pay for the coordination, but it doesn't mean that if I want to travel, I have to travel. And if I want to just like to say I have to travel, I will travel the next day. If I pay coordination, so the coordination it is like facilities. You pay, and then they make everything for you. For boys, for boys like youth, they have to pay coordination even before the war. It was the coordination. It was exist. It started with $1,000. This coordination. It is for VIB. It's called VIB. If you coordinate, if you wanted to travel on Thursday, you can travel after. Once you pay, you travel after. For instance, if you pay on Tuesday, you will travel on Thursday. This is really very fast. Once you pay this coordination, the coordination at the beginning when it started with $1,000, $500, and then it reached to $300. It's something like that. And it's really very funny story about this coordination, because if you don't pay, you are not gonna this is only for youth. They are not allowed to travel. You know, sometimes if you wanted to travel to Egypt, through Egypt, they are not allowed. But once they pay, they allow for them to travel. So before that, they reject them and they tell them like this is security issues. You are rejected to travel. But once you pay the coordination, they allow for them to travel.
You're no longer security risk.
Exactly.
I think that you're very generous, Karama. I'm saying this, not you, but you call it coordination. It sounds to me like graft. It sounds to me like corruption. But you don't have to agree with that. I'm just saying that's what I think.
Yeah, before the war, I traveled, but I wanted to tell you something. When I traveled to Egypt the first time, I waited 3 months in order to travel. It doesn't mean 3 months at least. The first time I waited 3 months. The second time I traveled, I waited 4 or 5 months. So you have to. I put in my mind like I have to put my name in the crossing, because it's not easy. So can you imagine? This is for me, and I always think like, okay, I'm lucky because I'm going to travel to study. But how about people who wants to travel in order to get the treatment, or they need surgery or urgent things, you know?
Right. Grafton, do you have any questions from the audience? So I encourage people to either raise their hand if they want to speak directly to Karama, or put your question in the Q&A or in the chat. Grafton, have you got something for Karama there?
Yes, there was one of our attendees wants to know, says she has a family who knows a family who hopes to come to Egypt. They have a son who is at a university in Morocco in Tangier. Have you ever heard of Palestinians who might join a family member in Morocco? Might they be able to be legal in Morocco? The son is studying on a scholarship from the Palestinian Authority.
Would you know what the Morocco laws are? That's probably a little bit beyond your, unless you happen to know about it, Karama.
To be honest, I have no idea how is it about their law. Yeah, but I know that I heard also in the news, like some, this is what I know about, like some people, some students from Gaza, they wanted to travel to Morocco, and in order to study there only at their university, and it was really very difficult to make these coordinations for them.
Okay.
There's no more active questions. I encourage anyone who has a question to put it in the Q&A or to raise their hand.
Well, while we're waiting, I'll ask another one, just a practical sense. What about cost of living? First you had some savings because you had this active business. What's it cost to have a 1-bedroom apartment in Cairo's big, so I'm sure if you're in the what's it called, the Hamla area, the very expensive parts of Cairo. I don't expect that's where you're living. You're probably living in the outskirts somewhere. But what about living costs and food costs? Give us an idea.
Yeah, I'm also lucky because the expensive or life in Egypt is not like Gaza, because the shekel, I'm talking about the currency, the Egyptian pound, it's really cheap. So you can buy lots of things compared to the level that I used to in Gaza. The shekel is really, really very expensive. And the life in Gaza, it is, we say like it becomes like Switzerland, very expensive. And, you know, it is really very hard even to get the money. But you know, it has one good effect and like side effect, like bad, negative and positive. The pound, it is cheap. I can buy lots of things, but on the other hand, I don't have job. So this is the things that I really struggle of doing marketing for my classes even here, because people who are coming here, they prefer to have Egyptian accent, not the Palestinian one. When I was in Gaza, I was working with international organizations. Another thing, like I was just like comparing my life here when I was.
Just hold on. So you're saying in terms of your ability to teach Arabic language, the people who want to learn to speak Fossa, whatever the Egyptian dialect is not your dialect. So you're not the preferred person to teach Egyptian dialect. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, even sometimes I advise my students, like if you want, I met few people here and they are interested to have Arabic, but they want Egyptian. So I don't speak Egyptian spoken, you know. So there are plenty of, and actually the market of teaching Arabic for non-Arabic speakers in Egypt, it's really perfect. And lots of teachers and universities and even schools for, especially for this. So competing here, it's really, I have to be only online to give online courses for the people that I know and people who wants to continue. And they are actually doing marketing for their friends. And, you know, it's like that.
Right.
But when I compare my situation in Gaza, I have my own house. I'm not gonna to pay for renting because I own the house. So I don't rent it. Here,
before your house now no longer exists, correct? Or am I wrong?
The building of my house, it exists. It is, I'm really lucky. Half of the building, you will find like the building, it consists of six houses. Tamam. Each floor, we have 3 floors. Each floor, it consists of 3 apartments, but big. So my apartments, it is still stable. Like in the other floor, you will find apartments that it's really totally destroyed. Yeah, so my apartment, because just like a few days ago, people from the very north Gaza, from Jabalia, they evacuated to my house, and you know they found it empty, and they stayed in the house. So some people actually from the neighborhood, they go and back sometimes, because it depends. When they ask them to evacuate, the people evacuate. But when they feel like, halas, there is no fire and there is no airstrike here, so people go back to the same neighborhood because they don't know where to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say, comparing my situation, here I pay for renting the house. In Gaza, I don't pay.
Right.
Here I have also to pay for transportations. Gaza is really very small country, so that there's no transportations I pay. So it has like positive and negative effects.
Okay. Margaret, I see that you've raised your hand. So Margaret, can you hear me? Can we hear you?
Yes, thank you. I would like to follow up on the question that, thank you, Kamara, thank you so much for what you're telling us. This is exactly what we wanted to know, and my heart is with you in what you're dealing with. This family that we're hoping to bring out into Egypt with the son in Morocco, they also have an aunt and uncle in Egypt who've been living in Egypt all along. They must be Palestinian, but they are surely citizens of Egypt. So supposing that they are, which I think they must be, will that make a difference, do you think, that they have family who are in Egypt? Does that make any difference to their situation?
You are actually talking also about my aunt. My aunt also, she has been here in Alexandria, even before like 14 years, you know, even before the wars. But yeah, the people or the Palestinians who have been here before the wars, they are actually stable. But it depends, like who's giving, how, of course, that she can't, the rule or the law, it is still the law. No, she can't renew her residency. But if they are actually one part of the law, if you are more than 60 years old, so no need to, your visa, you are allowed to be in the country. So maybe these two families or the aunts that you are talking about, if they are old, more than 60 years old, this is the Egyptian law, they are allowed to be in the country, not illegally, and no need for them to pay fees of being in the country illegally.
Thank you. I see Shahira, I see you've posed a question in the chat. Do you want to come on, Shahira, to raise your hand and then ask your question directly? Shahira, I don't know if you're still there, but if you are, there you are, and I'll allow you to talk. There you go, Shahira. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hi, Karama. It's very good to see you. أهلا وسهلا. شكرا على حضورك. Karama, I'm an Egyptian and I've just come back from Cairo, and I know what you guys are going through. It's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And have you thought at all of giving classical Arabic classes online? Because, I mean, there are a lot of people who want to read classical Arabic, to be taught the grammar in Arabic, and it's very difficult to find somebody to do that. Has that ever come up? And then what are your plans for the future? What are you going to do?
Okay. Thank you so much, Shahira. Yeah, actually, I can teach Arabic. We call it modern standard Arabic. I think that you mean it, because the classic Arabic, it is for people who wants to learn Quran. But I think that you are talking about Fusha, modern standard Arabic. Yes, I can teach Arabic only for beginners, but I am specialized to teach the Palestinian Arabic, and I have experience for more than 10 years to teach the Palestinian dialect Arabic. I choose all of this because many people who ask me to teach them, they are interested in spoken Arabic, not the MSA, the modern standard Arabic. But I also can teach this. So if you recommend me for anyone, I will be very happy. That will be highly appreciated.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
For your other question, actually, this is the question that everyone asks me, like, what is your next plans? What is your next plans? You know, Shahira, when you come here, to be honest, I love Egypt. I love Egypt because the first country that I visited, it was Egypt. And you know the big relationship between the Palestinians and the Egyptian. I love Egypt because Egypt is the mother of the world. This is what we always say. مصر أم الدنيا. Yeah, and I didn't know what does it mean unless I came here and I visited Egypt and I lived in Egypt. You know, I saw people from all over the world carrying different nationalities, and they are living here in this country. And I thought I met them. The plans actually, you know, I had so much plans, and this is what happens for anyone who evacuated from Gaza. They think that once they come here, they will achieve all their plans and they want to do so much things. I will travel. But this is actually when they come and they saw the reality that they literally can do anything. They can't travel, they can't work, they can't even do volunteer work, they can't go to the hospital. As I said before, they really shocked. So I really was planning to go to many countries and to find job here and here and here. But actually, it is out of my control. Like all my plans, it's really like khalas. I stuck here. And sometimes when I feel like I'm really frustrated, I feel like why I get out Gaza? I have to go back to Gaza. I don't blame the country. I'm not talking about, it's about law that it's not exist. We are still like with no plans until just like to know what will happen, you know. I have my specific, my own plans is just like to apply for asylum in some countries, and inshallah, I will succeed to apply and to take me, because now there are some programs for refugees or people like me who got out from the war. Inshallah, these programs will fit us, and they will take me in order to go and to apply for asylum and to have ID. This is what I always said. Like, I didn't understand the importance of having ID. Nowadays, I understand the meaning of have ID. Now I don't have ID, I don't have anything. So I feel like I'm not exist in this world, but I'm really struggling, and I'm trying to apply for many asylum programs in order to have an ID, to tell them like, I am a human, I have ID, and this is me, you know? This is my plan.
And I think your very passionate description there, Karama, is the situation of millions of Palestinians around the world. It's not just those who are in Gaza and expelled. It's I've been to refugee camps in Jordan, in Lebanon. For a Canadian, it's difficult to understand what it means to not have an ID, not have an identity document, not have a state behind them. It must be a very uncertain and very unsettling experience. Karama, you've been extremely generous with your time. I think obviously everybody has been impressed and affected by it, by your presentation. We wish you well, and thank you so much for spending your time. I hope your Arabic language business takes off and you become an Arabic princess with lots of money. I will be following up this interview, sending a link of this interview to all the people who attend and also all those who registered. I will include with that your email so that they can be in touch with you if they want. I also remind people who are attending today that my little organization, the Ottawa Forum on Israel Palestine, is a volunteer organization. We are allowed to volunteer here in Canada. So you can't volunteer in Egypt. We can volunteer, but that doesn't give us any money. We're dependent on our people who attend our webinars to send us bits of money here and there, and I would appreciate it. Our normal costs here to run, just to have the webinar material and so on, is about $200, $250 a month. So we get by on it, and we appreciate any contributions that people make to us. Our next webinar will be in mid-January. It'll be from The Hague, Netherlands, and we'll be talking about quite a different issue that very much relates to the Palestinian question. It has to do with Bibi Netanyahu's apparent immunity in front of the International Criminal Court. As you know, the United States is fiercely pushing back on the ICC arrest warrant for Netanyahu. A number of European countries have started to waver on it. And if Netanyahu is able to gain protection and not be pursued by the International Criminal Court, that puts in jeopardy the whole of the international rules-based order. So we'll be talking to David Kattenberg from The Hague about the implications of that criminal process. So once again, I thank my colleague David Grafton Ross for looking at the questions in the background. Thanks to all of you for attending, and shukran ktir to Karama. See, I still know a few words of Arabic, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye.